What is going on, guys? Corrosive Bullet here, and today we are going to be breaking down the secret rares that got revealed in Fusion World, and we're going to talk about some other releases that have kind of dropped along the way. Last video, I talked heavily on the Vegito meta and what the Vegito deck's kind of doing. We're going to try and avoid talking about Vegito in this video. Obviously, when we discuss a lot of these cards, we're going to discuss, we're going to discuss how they're going to be able to interact with Vegito to an extent, but for the most part, we're going to just leave Vegito in the wind, just not talk about him. We don't need that negativity in our lives. But yeah, let's kind of get into it. So the first secret rare that dropped was for the green Namek Goku. He's a 7 cost, 45k power, 0 combo, who has double strike, and has a permanent skill where if your life is at 2 or less, and you don't have a Son Goku with a cost of 7 in your battle area, reduce the cost of this card in your hand by 4. I don't hate this card. I think this card's actually pretty solid for the most part. The fact that you're able to kind of cheat him out at 4 costs less than normal when you don't have one on the board is actually really solid. And the fact that he's double strike is a lot of offensive pressure that's going to be really hard to kind of get over. The 2 or less life thing, I'm still skeptical when it comes to Namek Goku, because a lot of his effects for a lot of the cards you want to run in the deck, you really want to stick around at 2 or less life. And I'm not 100% certain or sure that it's going to be enough. I wonder, I'm just hoping that the rest of the support for green gives that Namek Goku a little something extra. We obviously want to see stuff like on curve, and we haven't really seen a whole lot of cards that we can really play on curve. We're going to see a card later in this reveal that's going to help this deck a lot, but it's going to be a toss-up on whether it's actually going to be viable or not, or helpful or not, depending on, the matchup, but we'll see. Then we got the Frieza here, 4 cost, 30k power, 0 combo. He's got barrier, so this is the third barrier card that yellow's getting. When attacking, you pay 2 energy, choose up to 1 rest mode battle card with a cost of 5 or less in your opponent's battle area, and place it in the owner's drop. This is a great card. The fact that you're probably going to run this in Janemba, because you get a lot of the free energy in Janemba, right? So the 2 cost to activate the effect isn't really all that, substantial. You're able to reach this pretty easily in Janemba. And then it's the fact that you're placing a card into your owner's drop and not KOing. That's a big deal for yellow, because in terms of removal, that's all that yellow has is KO removal. And there's so much KO protection in the game at this point. And there's other colors have other methods of being able to remove stuff that's not KOing. So like red's got minusing, blue's got bottom decking or bouncing back to hand, green is able to ramp, black also is able to bounce stuff back to hand. It's just having something that's just placement instead of just KOing is actually really strong. And the fact that it's a barrier card means that this card cannot be interacted with, which is also really strong. So what's crazy too is that on a Janemba turn, you can, if your Janemba's awakened, you can play this on turn 4, and then you can play this on turn 4. You can then swing with your leader to get 2 energy back, and then you can activate this skill just right off the bat. It is actually really strong. So you get some really good early or mid-game clear that for any troublesome 4 costs or maybe even a cheated out 5 costs with the marker. Yeah, I like this Frieza a lot. I think this card's going to be extremely helpful in yellow. Probably a mainstay. I'd say it's probably a mainstay in yellow decks. Probably more so than the Barrier Boo. Barrier Boo, I think, will still have his place, especially in the Majin Buu Evil deck, but I think this card is a very good secret rare. I feel like this is a card that a lot of people are also going to underestimate too, kind of like the 6 cost Golden Frieza. A lot of people underestimated the Golden Frieza secret rare card in set 2, and granted, it was a little underwhelming because there wasn't really a lot of 6 cost cards or 5 cost cards in the game during set 2, so he didn't really have as many targets that he could floodgate with his ability. But now that the game has evolved over the past 2 sets, going into set 5 here, it's obviously a lot more viable than it used to be. So I think this will be underrated, but we'll have to see when he actually releases and gets used. All right, so let's talk about some of the SRs. So first off, we got Super Saiyan 3 Son Goku. He's a 5-cost, 30k power, 5k combo. On play, if you removed an energy marker to use this card, draw 2 cards, and then activate main once per turn, discard 1 card from your hand, then switch this card in a battle area to active mode. This card is actually really good. The on-play effect is super strong. In Gogeta, you're always going to be able to pretty much get this ability off, which is great. And then I'm just thinking like on curve and like black decks in general. This isn't like a Gogeta specific card, so you could run this in a generic black deck with Super Saiyan 4 Goku or even Bardock if you wanted to. But like on curve, like turn 3, you can play Secret Rare Goku, swing, get the marker back. And then going into turn 4, you can play this guy after you generated the marker to draw 2 cards just in general, and have this guy out, and you can get 2 30k swings going into it. Like the curve for black is actually really good, all things considered. It's probably one of the better curves that you could have. Yeah, just a dual attacker 30k that has combo power, that's able to draw 2 cards when you use the marker. Like very strong card. Very good card. I'm hoping we get more support like this for Gogeta to kind of facilitate what he wants to do, but we'll have to kind of wait and see. We still know very little to next to nothing in terms of like what Black is like trying to accomplish with Gogeta, but we'll see down the line. Then for yellow, we got the SR of Janemba, 3-cost, 25k power, 5k combo. On play, add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, then switch 1 of your energy to active mode, choose up to 1 battle card in your opponent's battle area, and switch it to rest mode. This card's great. You can clearly see that the power creep is really stepping up going into set 5, which is great. I think the more that these cards are able to do, the more variety we're going to kind of have in the game, which I think is actually very beneficial. So yeah, I mean, he's a Self-Awakener. He's switching 1 of your energies to active, so you're essentially playing this guy for 2 instead of 3. And then that's also great too if your leader's awakened in Janemba, because you play this guy for 3, you get 1 energy back, and then you swing with your Janemba leader to go back up to basically full energy, and it's almost like you didn't really pay anything. Ginyu's kind of doing this right now with the Frieza spaceship field card and the energy restand Ginyu. Just basically being able to just cheat out energy is crazy. Yeah, and then just any battle card in your opponent's battle area, switch it to rest mode. Very strong. Very, very strong effect. I think this card's going to be running a lot more than just Janemba. I think you could probably make an argument that this guy could be run in Ginyu as well. Probably in Frieza. You'd probably want to run this in Frieza. You could probably run it in both Boo decks too. Yeah, I mean, this is just a strong, basic, generic card. I can't say that I can't really speak anymore on this. It's actually pretty strong. Then we got the SR Son Gohan Youth. 3-cost, 20k power, 0 combo. On play, you choose one of these 2 effects. If your life is at 2 or less, choose up to 1 battle card in your opponent's battle area and KO it. And then add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, then choose up to 1 battle card with a cost of 3 or less in your opponent's battle area and KO it. So I like this card. I think it's going to be good for Namek Goku to an extent. The fact that it's a Self-Awakener that can then KO a at-cost battle card on your opponent's board is actually pretty good. And then if you're at 2 life or less, like the fact that he can just KO anything is a really strong card. Makes it a lot more viable being able to have one or the other. So I think that's great. I think it's a good card. The fact that it's 0 combo though sucks. I mean, I understand why it's 0 combo. The fact that at 2 or less he just KOs anything. Yeah, I mean I get it. I understand it, but still, like the fact that like we have all these low cost cards in green that like have 0 combo, I think is just I think a lot of cards are a little undertuned for that, but I mean I kind of get it too. Like I don't know. Either way, this is a strong card, and I think it's going to be worthwhile to run this in not just necessarily the Namek Goku, but in a lot of I think in a lot of green decks, probably. Then we got Tamagami number 3 from Daima. He's a 2-cost, 15k power, 5k combo blocker, where he cannot be KO'd once per turn. So he's got a he's got the 4-cost Jiren effect, where he just can't be KO'd once per battle or once per turn. He's okay. I mean, you play this on what, 2? Obviously, if you wanted to swing with this guy, you could, and you had the Daima leader skill to boost him up to 25 on turn 2, which I mean, you're not going to be awakened by turn 2, so you're not gonna see that too often. But yeah, I mean, like, red and blue decks will just decimate this card. It's gonna get minus to High Heaven. It's gonna get bottom decked or bounce back to hand. No issues whatsoever. Green might have a little bit of an issue with this, but again, they got a Warm Greeting. But I don't know if you necessarily want to play Warm Greeting against this. Like, it's really not that consequential of a card that, like, you need to do that. I mean, yellow at this point is, the yellow at this point is like resting cards, so like his block ability doesn't like do much against yellow. I mean, I guess you get protection against Final Explosion, I guess, too, but even so, it's like not consequential enough. And then obviously black is just able to bounce this back. It's got 2 or 3 options that can bounce stuff back. So I mean, it's an okay card. It's not anything crazy. I think this would be a lot better if you could like restand it. Like, if you could play this and you could restand it once per turn, I think that would make this card a lot better. And you wouldn't even, and if it did that, I don't even think you would need to necessarily adjust any of the stat line for it either. So I don't know. I think this card could have been better, but I mean, it's all right. It's okay. Then we got some of the black extra cards. We got Ultimate Sparking, 1 cost. Activate battle on your opponent's turn. Your cards that are in a battle get 20 plus power for the battle. Then if you removed an energy marker to use this card, choose up to 1 battle card in your opponent's battle area, and it can't attack for the turn. This card is really good. It's basically a pair of Para Brothers that gives you a little bit of protection. It's like a super combo basically for 1 energy. What this card's going to basically show that we need to be careful of our sequencing. And I think that's going to change the way that a lot of people play the game. It's basically like you want to swing with your battle cards first in black, or at least when you're going against black, you're going to want to swing with your battle cards first before you swing with leader. Because otherwise, if you swing with leader first, your battle cards are just going to get locked, and you're not going to be able to swing with your battle cards. So I think that's pretty good. I think there's a place for Para, and I think there is a place for Para and a place for this. I don't think this card necessarily replaces Para Brothers, but having an extra 20k combo power to kind of protect yourself for a cost of 1 is actually really good. So yeah, I like this card a lot. And then we got Soul Punisher. It's a 4-cost extra card where you choose 1 ability. You either choose up to 1 battle card in your opponent's battle area and KO it. And if you used a marker to use this card, you can KO 2 cards instead of 1. This is a really strong card. Just the fact that there's no cost restrictions when it comes to the effects makes this a much better 10 times Kamehameha. You're a bit more lenient in terms of who you can remove with this. The problem that I see with this card, though, as strong as this is that it's a 4-cost. That is a hefty toll that you have to pay to be able to do that. So this is more on the control aspect rather than as opposed to anything else. I'm curious to see if black is going to get some sort of card that lowers extra card cost, kind of similar to there's like the brainwashed Gohan, right? That can basically let you skip the cost of 2 costs or less extras if you use it in a combo. So I'm wondering if we're going to see like some sort of cost reduction for this that maybe makes it a 2-cost, maybe a 3-cost, something to kind of make it a little bit easier to get off. Otherwise, you have to be very selective about when you use this card. But I mean, the effect is really strong. Black needed some real excuse me. Black needed better removal than what was kind of already there. So this kind of gives it to us. It's just a matter of when will you play this, as opposed to if you play it at all or not. So still a good card nonetheless. Then we got a Paikuhan SR. 2 cost, 20k power, 0 combo. On play, he's a Self-Awakener. And then when attacking, if you have an energy marker, you look at 2 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 card with another world in its special traits, and add it to your hand, and then place the rest at the bottom of your owner's deck in a random order. So the fact that he does this when he attacks is actually pretty good. Just you're basically, it's almost like you're scrying your deck to an extent, just due to the fact that you're seeing the top 2. It's not really all that like impactful. But it's got a restriction, and I think that's going to maybe hurt this guy more than it helps, meaning that you're really only running this guy probably in the Gogeta deck and not much else. So 0 combo cost with the restriction on his attack, on his ability there, I think kind of sucks. I think you could have probably given this guy 5k combo and he would have been fine. His stat line is a little underwhelming for the fact that he has the restriction there. Like, just being a searcher on attack is a really strong ability, sure, but I mean, when you have restrictions based around special traits, like, it really does like hinder the deck or hinder the card itself. So again, like, unless we get more Another World support, or we get another leader that's Another World, like maybe we get a Black Janemba at some point down the line, or something along those lines. Like, I don't know. Like, it's very restrictive, and I don't think it's actually helping this guy. The value of this guy is not really going to be there if the only thing that you can use this in is the Gogeta deck, who wants to probably run, like, Another World stuff, right? So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's good for what it is. It's just, I think it probably needs to be a bit better tuned than what it is. That's just me personally, though. Then we got 1 cost Elder Mori, 1 cost 10k power, 10k combo blocker, who is a must Self-Awaken card. You have to add 1 card from your life to your hand. This card's going to be great in Goku. He's like being able to just hyper awaken with this guy, playing this guy back to back to back, facilitating your hand while doing so. And the fact that he's a 10k blocker with 10k power, so he's a really good combo piece from hand. He is a 10k, so like 1 cost Whis in red isn't going to be able to remove this guy just off the cuff. I think it's good. Like, I'm not a big fan of these like really cheap, really weak like blockers, because they're usually easy to remove. And this guy is still easy to remove for the most part, but there's things that this guy counteracts, which I think actually makes this guy a bit better. The question for me though is, do you run this in Piccolo? I don't know if you run this in Piccolo. Piccolo, I don't think necessarily wants to Self-Awaken, just due to the fact that he needs to be at 8 energy for his abilities to kind of come up. So I'm curious to see if there's more Namekian support of some sort in set 5. We'll have to kind of wait and see. Piccolo needs help, man. Piccolo needs help. I want that deck to be good so bad, but he just doesn't have the tools. So here's hoping. Maybe I'm coping, but we'll just kind of have to see. I lied. We are gonna have to talk about this for Vegito. Sorry, I lied to you guys, but yeah, we're gonna have to talk about this. So Vegito, Candy Vegito, 2 cost, 15k power, 10k combo. Activate main. Place this card in a battle area at the bottom of its owner's deck. If you have 20 or more cards in your drop, add up to 1 Son Goku with a cost of 3 or less, and up to 1 Vegeta with a cost of 3 or less from your drop to your hand. All right. So off the face, obviously, it's, when you look at it at face value, like just looking at the stat line, like it's not that great, right? It's like okay, but his effect itself is ridiculous. Just, you could play this guy, swing with it, combo something if you really want to, preferably a Son Goku or Vegeta with a cost of 3 or less back into your drop. Swing this guy for 20-25, and then you activate the ability. You place this card back into the bottom of your owner's deck, meaning that, like, if you're at no cards in your deck and you have a 6 cost Vegito on board, or 2, you're basically putting this guy back into your deck, which is preventing you from the loss condition. So, like, not to say that, and that's not to say that it helps you, or that it's necessarily going to happen often, because I'm pretty sure the Vegito deck's going to run 60 cards for the most part, due to the fact that you're going to be hyper milling. So I'd imagine, like, I'd imagine that preventing the loss from decking out, I don't think you're gonna see that all that often, but as like as a bonus, this is like a bonus for the deck, I guess. If you were at 0 cards in your deck, this guy goes back into your deck. That can help you a little bit, especially like if you have 2 of these in hand. If you have 2 of these in hand, you just play both, pop both, and then you're at 2 cards instead of 0 cards, and then you for sure are not decking out next turn, so you might be able to clutch it at the end. But that's not what makes him like super crazy. It's the fact that he gets 2 cards from drop. So, like we have a lot of 3 cost or less Vegetos or Vegetas. We have a couple of 3 cost or less Son Gokus in blue. So there's a lot of options that you can drop and pull from this. We obviously still haven't even seen the SR Spirit Bomb Goku for this deck. We still don't know what this card does. So it's a little weird that we haven't seen the final SR in the set yet. I don't know. I mean, this is a good card. This is a strong card. It's probably going to be a must run in Vegito as well. It's just the fact that I look at this card and I'm just like, why? I'm like, why? Why does Vegito need like double recursion? Why does he get out to his losing condition? Why does he like what can this deck not do? This deck is doing everything. It's floodgating. It's bouncing stuff back to hand. He's getting hyper aggressive swings. He's like preventing his own loss condition. He's recurring. There's just so much that this deck is doing. It's insane. It's insane. No more Vegito rant. No more Vegito rant. All right, and then we got Majin Buu Evil. 3 costs, 20k power, 5k combo. On play, add up to 1 card from your hand to your life, and then when KO'd, choose up to 1 rest mode battle card with a cost of 3 or less in your opponent's battle area and KO it. So more Majin Buu support, which is always welcome. But the effect, the KO effect here, like it requires a little bit of setup. This is something that you're not going to be playing on curve. You are not going to be playing this on turn 3 because there are just better cards to be playing on turn 3. Specifically, obviously, any of the other 3 cost boos with off the Babidi. Maybe you do this on turn 4. Maybe I don't think so. But I mean, a turn 3 Self Awakener is still good because a lot of people have been playing around the idea of like not awakening Boo like early anymore. They're kind of playing it like they're kind of giving it the baby approach. Like you don't swing into the leader as often as you can, prevent him from awakening as often as possible. Just keep the board clear to thin out his hand. But yeah, I mean, this is a fine card. I don't have an issue with this card. I think it's fine. And then we also got Zanya, 2 cost, 20k power, 5k combo. On play, add up to 1 card from your life to your hand. When attacking, you pay an energy to draw 2 cards, and then you discard 1 card from your hand. Again, this is very inconsequential in Janemba. You're going to run her in Janemba more than anything else, more than likely. But a 2 cost Self Awakener that's able to basically cycle your hand and draw 2 cards on top of your leader swing. Like it's not bad. It's fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't got an issue with this card. I'm excited that Bojack Brigade is the special trait, which means at some point down the line, Yellow is getting a Bojack leader, or at the very least, a Bojack Brigade, archetype in its color. There's like 3 things that are constant for me from Masters. It's the fact that I always run Bardock crew decks, I always run baby decks, and I always run Bojack's crew. So I'm actually excited that at some point Bojack is going to be coming into the game, and that's going to be awesome. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys. That is all the reveals. More or less. That's more or less all the reveals, the important reveals that have kind of been given to us so far. We are almost at the point where the set list should drop. Next week, I think we'll make 1 month until... Next week will be 1 month until the new set drops. And usually we get about a month before the new set, we usually get all of the cards that are coming. So I'm thinking probably next Friday we might see the full list, but we shall see when we get there. But thank you guys for the love and support as always. Do appreciate you guys. I will see you guys all in the next Fusion World video. Peace.